How's it going, airplane collectors? Welcome back to another video. It's your host Ray. Today's video is a model review of the Gemini Jet's 1/400 scale American Airlines Airbus A319. This model is certainly older for the channel since I don't usually do reviews on the older models that I have. This model was released in 2016 if my memory serves correctly, and here I am in 2022 reviewing it. So this review will proceed like all of my other reviews. I'll talk about the box, then the model, and then I'll give you guys my opinion about what I think of the model, and at the end of the video I'll tell you guys whether or not I recommend this model to other collectors. So sit back, relax, and let's get this started. Starting up with the box is 15 centimeters lengthwise, 15 centimeters tall, and 4.5 centimeters wide. In my opinion, it's a little overkill for the model because the model is quite small, but I mean, it really doesn't matter that much. I'll show you guys around the box. Here's the front. And also, I'd like to point out this sticker here. This is the sticker that I received to verify my admission into the Chicago Airline Memorabilia Show in May of 2022, where I got this model. And I decided to attach the sticker to the box to commemorate the fact that I got this model there. It's not damaging the box or anything in any way. It's just something that I'd like to point out. So therefore, it's also not included wherever else you buy this. Here's the bottom. Oh, there's a little stain. Right side, top, left side, and the back side. Under the flap, you can see a brief history of the Airbus A320 family, as well as some specifications for this specific aircraft, so read these if you'd like to, and apologies if you can't read it. I know the text is rather hard to see. And here's the model itself. Let's get into some specifications. The model is 8.5 centimeters long, the wingspan is also 8.5 centimeters, and it's 3 centimeters tall. So it's relatively small, but it's also accurate to 1/400 scale. I'll give you guys a quick 360 of the model so you can get a good look at its features. And also, apologies if I knock the model over, because this model in particular, as you can see here, is a little bit tail heavy, so it has the tendency to fall back on its tail like this. Starting up this review at the whole front half of the aircraft instead of just the front, because this thing is so tiny. You can see a decent amount of printed detail up here, and the nose shape. This is the older Gemini Jet's Airbus A319 mold, so it's a lot better than the current one in terms of overall quality control. Still, the cockpit window printing is a little bit off. It's kind of pitched upwards once it reaches these windows over here. But the nose shape is really solid, actually, so that's nice. As we move down the fuselage, you can see the giant American logo. Everything looks good with this, I think. And yeah. Here you can see the tail. The tail design looks good. No complaints about the tail or anything like that. Here's the right side. It's pretty much identical to the left side, so I'll just show you this really quick. The wings on this model are done quite nicely. There's a decent amount of molded and printed detail, so that's very nice. You can also see the cradle seam because this is one of the cradle molds. It's one of the older molds, so I really can't complain. And overall, it's still pretty solid for being a 1/400 scale Airbus A319. One of the main drawbacks on this model are the fence tips. The fence tips aren't the best. They're pretty small, but it's not an emergency. They're not insanely small either. That's something that the new mold actually does a bit more decently. The wingtip fences are a little bit better on the newer version. We'll move to the rear of the aircraft, and here you can see the horizontal stabilizers. These look good, and something I just noticed about the vertical stabilizer, it's actually kind of pointed towards the left of the aircraft, so this one didn't exactly have the best quality control. The APU back here, it's kind of blunt. It doesn't really have that much detail, which isn't a complaint, by the way. These things are insanely tiny. It's just something I wanted to point out. Transitioning to the engines on this model are actually really nice compared to the current mold. These are properly sized, and you can see the fan blades are very nicely done. I really don't understand why Gemini Jets decided to make the engines oversized. It really sucks how they got rid of it. A drawback on this one, though, is that this left engine here is bent upwards, kind of like the 737 Maxes of today. And this one is too, to a lesser degree, so that was also very annoying to see. This model, despite being on the old mold, features some external features, only antennas. Here you can see the two on the top of the aircraft. They're nicely made. I don't see any alignment or gluing issues, so that's nice. We'll make our transition to the bottom of the aircraft, and here you can see only one singular antenna, so that's good. Landing gear looks pretty nice. You can see it's made correctly. It's definitely not as detailed as the current landing gear, but it also doesn't have as many defects. The wheels, unfortunately, do not roll because this is the older mold, but there is a lot of printed detail down here, so that's nice. I also just casually noticed a very small 725 right here. Here's a better view of the landing gear if you were looking for that. I'm going to show you guys the front nose wheel really quick. This is what the nose wheel looks like. Very nicely detailed, and wow, they actually did the printing on the gear cover really nice too. I don't see very many issues with that. That's fairly uncommon these days. And here's the main landing gear. That right there is emotional damage. Yikes! I thought this model was going pretty solid, but no wonder they were selling it for so cheap. This is where the quality control issues come in. Here you can see the model is horribly off balance, at least for 2016 quality. Even then, they weren't the best at that time. But here you can see the gear wheels don't exactly fall into place nicely. The cockpit window printing. Oh my, disgusting. It's very tilted. I'm not sure what happened. The wing flex on the horizontal stabilizers, that doesn't look the best either. This one's kind of bent upwards, and of course you can see the tail here. It's bent a little bit towards the left side of the aircraft or the right side of your screen, so that's also an issue. And in record time, man, I've been doing really good lately. We are done with the review. Now time for my personal opinion and recommendation. This model was not as good as I thought. I mean, the color is fine, and I thought the mold was pretty good. At a glance, it looks really decent, but once you look into the details, it is pretty bad. So if you ever get your chance to get your hands on one of these, make sure you inspect it thoroughly to make sure that it doesn't have issues like this one. Caught me completely off guard. So cutting to the point, I don't really recommend this model, to be honest. I mean, the color is good and everything. But yeah, this thing definitely had far more defects than I anticipated, so that was quite the nasty surprise. And that concludes the video. That was rather quick compared to my other ones. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, or anything you feel that anything that you feel that needs to be addressed, feel free to drop that down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more airplane and siren content, and I'll see you guys in my next video.